KP4MD. Good evening. This is Wilson, November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot, your net control operator for the River City Arc Slow Scan TV net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. River City Arc's members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact the net control by saying break break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I will recognize each station before continuing. A station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
Kilo Lima 7 Hotel Quebec Romeo, Neil, Antelope.
Good evening, Alpha India 6, Delta Golf, Florin.
Alright, I have Neil, KL7HQR, Antelope, and AI6DG. That's Joel and Florin. Good evening to you both, and thank you for checking into the net. Do we have any other check-ins? I will stand by for just a moment for any other check-ins. Also checking to see if Carol is online and available. N6EMF, net control here. Very good, Carol. Just check in if and when you're ready. So what I'll do is I'll kick this off and we'll say thanks again, Carol, for preparing the YouTube presentation, and I want to say good evening to all the YouTube viewers out there, and well, happy Wednesday. Here we are at it again, SSTV. So Neil, did you want to transmit photo this evening?
Yes, I have one. I thought you were going to send yours first, but otherwise I'll be ready.
I have one to send. Let me I was going to go ahead and, it seems like if we have a light crew, I might be able to send 2 photos, but I'll go ahead and transmit now. Stand by for Martin 1, please. right, so I'll start with, that's N6 EMF Net Control has transmitted the first photo. How about Neil? Did you copy?
Roger, Gale 7HQR. Yeah, good copy. A few spots here and there from PayPal, but very good, sharp copy. Looks like, is that Jojo? It's a good picture of a young man smiling broadly, and he may be in a hospital because I see what appears to be a bed in the background. And then I see a picture of yourself on the upper right-hand corner with your call letters. Good copy.
All right, very good. Appreciate that, Neil. I'll have a description of that in just a moment. How about Joel, AI6DG? Did you copy?
That's pretty good. Yeah, PayPal's pops are kind of bad. RGB. So left half is one very broadly smiling face, and the background does look like a bed, and I don't think it's a hospital, but there is like a stand or a cart or something. I'm not sure what. Looks like there's at least one level, like a shelf or something, but you can't really tell because we're only seeing one post of whatever is holding it up. And then on the upper right, next to the N6 EMF, is another face, much smaller. And I'm not sure who either is, so I look forward to hearing. Back to Net, AI6DG. Oh, and is there another net that we're superimposed on the repeater? Because I'm hearing, or was hearing, other conversations.
Yeah, thank you, Joel. I kind of hear the same thing. I ended up turning up my my squelch to block that out, but there's something coming in on the receive, but it's not. I don't think it's on the repeater. I think it's on the receive, the input, or I don't know if I want to call it the input, but the output frequency of the repeater. Okay, let me describe the photo. So who is that? Jojo, KN6HTD. He is a club member at RC Arcs, as well as one of the, I think he's a board member, he's a treasurer, and maybe a member on the member committee or one of the members' officers. But anyway, Jojo's a great guy with lots of energy, and become friends over the last few months. He is ran the net control on the 2-meter N6NA tonight, and he has instituted sort of a dual net control program, or a dual net controls operator, or some, you might call it like an intern program. So what you see there is a photograph of Jojo and I. We're doing FaceTime on our Mac OS and iOS devices, and that's a picture of him on the front end with him smiling real nicely, because I asked him to. And in the background, yes, I guess that's his shack or maybe his bedroom, but he's got a tripod with a GoPro camera. He's filming us from another perspective, so he's going to have that up somewhere pretty soon, and he might be watching. He might be watching us on YouTube tonight. So if you're out there, Jojo, give a shout out to you. This was our first opportunity to do a dual net control operator thing tonight, and that's me in the upper right hand corner reaching across the keyboard to take the snapshot of the screen. So there it is. I don't know if you have any other comments or questions, but there's a description of the photo. N6 EMF in the upper right hand corner. That's Wilson, and then Jojo front and center, KN6HTD.
KP4MD here.
All right, I guess that's your check-in, Carol, KP4MD, N6 EMF.
Yeah, thank you. I finally got it figured out here. Jojo's actually watching on YouTube, and he commented in the chat that Wilson made sure that he didn't forget to smile. He was in his master bedroom shack with a GoPro behind him, I guess. So, yep, and I just said, hi, Carol. Hi, Jojo. So I copied fine as well back to net control.
All right, thank you, Carol. Yeah, it was a worthwhile photo. It's one about people and experiences and fun times. So thanks, JoJo, for giving me some net control training with the N6NA and the River City ARC. So with that, let's see if we have any comments or questions. I'll take a quick pause. If not, I'll go to Neil for transmitting the photo.
To check in. Thank you. That was a good picture of JoJo, and it's kind of interesting what you guys did on altimeter net. And it's a good way to practice to train a new operator. You guys worked very well. Okay, here is going. I'm going to try to send something on a PD 120.
All right, Neil, nice one. I was able to copy. I'll turn it over to Joel for a. Were you able to copy AI6DG?
Could copy. Well, I'm having problems with tears, so I'm still trying to figure out what. I didn't have any problem on the last image. That's odd. But I've got places where things don't line up. So we've got a picture of, I think this is a train station somewhere, and the important point being that it's someplace with a super long name, and that's what the insert at the. So it's the front of a building with a couple of bay windows and a door in the center, and there's a sign, a big wide sign directly above the doors and windows in the center of the building, and in the bottom quarter of it is a close-up of that sign where you can see that it's just a crazy long collection of letters. So where is this? Wales or Ireland? Or I'm trying to think of what places what kind of a name that looks like. But I think that's the point is, wow, look at that long name. World's longest name for a train stop, maybe? Back to net, AI6DG.
All right, nice one, Joel. Let me run by Carol, KP4MD. Copy?
Yeah, actually, that picture came very, very clear. Hardly any pixels. I think there was a, uh, a pixel pops. There was one little horizontal line down by the windowsills. That was probably the repeater ID. And yeah, I recognize the first part of that uh, sign. I believe I've seen that somewhere before, and it's probably Wales. That's the only place in the world I know that has that kind of a name to some place. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
All right. Well, if I take the aggregate of all the comments, I could concur with almost everything I heard, but I would not have been able to guess the country or the geographic region of the building, not recognizing architecture. But yeah, it seems like a really long name. I'm wondering if you run past it at full train speed, would it blur in such a manner that you could read it? I don't know. But it seems like a very interesting photo. And Neil, let me turn it over to Neil for a description of what he's got. N6EMF net control. Thank you.
This is Kilo Lima 7 Hotel Quebec Radio. Yes. First of all, I start by pronouncing it, and I can pronounce go go gosh, which is the last few letters. The rest of it, absolutely, and I don't think that's the correct pronunciation for that part either. Yes, Carol's correct. It is in Wales. As I said, I think a couple of weeks ago I sent some strange pictures of the Oddfellows hotel that I stayed there in Chester. And during the weekend that we had off there, myself and the quality manager for the company, we decided to jump on the train and just see where it goes. So we went all the way to the end of the line, which is called Holyhead. And along the line, we stopped at this place, and I took this picture from the window of the train. And then it was obviously very strange, and it caught everybody's attention. So just when I was preparing this today to send, I went on the internet and checked and found out that this was the name given to the village quite a long time ago to be the longest village name in the world. I understand that somebody outdid that recently. But here's the note that I found. The name which is printed in the village's absurdly long train station sign translates in Welsh as, quote, St. Mary's Church in the hollow of White Hazel near a rapid whirlpool and the Church of St. Cecilio near the Red Cave. So, and now I will leave the full pronunciation to one of you. Back to Net.
I'll give it a whirl. Lanfrere, Roger, Chewy, Urenia, William, Gosh. How's that?
Better than I could have done.
All right, Neil, that was a blast. Now let me catch my breath. Okay, any other comments or questions for Neil on this one? All right, since I heard a little bit of horseplay on the health and welfare net earlier tonight, there were some really fun jokes that I heard. I'm going to tell one really quick. Here's one for us. Do you know why so many people have so much common sense out there?
Tell us why.
Well, because they haven't used any of it yet. All right, Joel, go right ahead. AI6DG, if you have a photo, go ahead and transmit.
PEQ 120. PE 120. Where'd that extra litter come from?
for that, Joel. That was a photo from AI6DG I was able to copy. I had to correct the slant, and I have a Rob Hirsch photography from AI6DG, landscape photography of what I might want to call a very high elevation perspective of a canyon, maybe with some snow cover and a mountain range. I think I see smoke in the air, or either heavy cloud cover, and looks like a combination of fire in some places, or maybe even light effects through refraction that makes it look like fire at different points in the photograph. That's my story. And so with that, I'll say thanks, Joel, for another wonderful landscape photo we'll hear about from you, and turn it over to Carol, KP4MD, see if you were able to copy the photo.
Yeah, this is KP4MD. I see the picture quite well. A lot of smoke hanging over the top there, and see some flames in the distance. And closer up to us, I see some areas of white that looks like snow-covered peaks or something. It's what it looks like. It looks like a fire. So kind of a real rugged landscape there. Back to net control.
Thank you for that, Carol. Neil, KL7HQR, did you copy?
KL7HQR, yes, copied very well. First thought, it was a sunset or a sunrise. On the right-hand side, it looks like Half Dome in Yosemite. And I know that you wouldn't be able to see a sunset, sunrise that brightly. So I think it's probably correct that it is a fire. I know there was a fire in that area, I think a year or two ago. So either it is smoke that we see, it's a very clear delineation, and I don't know if smoke would be that way. Could be just low clouds. And also, in my mind thinking flying, looks like there is a runway down there with white lights, and so that would not be Yosemite. But the picture came in very well. I'm kind of curious to know where I went wrong on this. Back to Matt.
Having the same question too. So there's got to be an interesting story to it, and I know that Joel has it. AI6DG, go right ahead. Joel.
This is a continuation of the shot from last week of Firefall at Yosemite. So this is just a very different view. This is a unique view of Firefall that I've never seen before. But what we're looking at is we're at, I don't know if it's Crocker or Dewey Point, but one of the lookout points on the, let's see here, that would be the southwest part of the valley rim, looking down. It's El Capitan on the left, and the fire on the right is Horsetail Falls with the sunlight as it's setting, shining onto just that little portion of the cliff to light up just Horsetail Falls. And on the left, that's the sun shining up the canyon, and those are clouds up above, and to the left. So the sun's, you got the alpine glow of the sun going down, shining through these clouds, which makes it even more golden, more fire. I'm not sure what you're seeing as a runway down at the valley floor, because it's just a bunch of trees and a couple of meadows with snow in the meadows, and on the cliff face off to the lower left. But this gives you a good idea of what's going on with Firefall, because you can see the sun shining, the rays of the sun from the left shining onto the cliff face on the right. Back to net AS6DG.
Thanks for bringing that back. The firefall at Yosemite. That's a very interesting perspective. Lots of visual trickery coming through nature, and very fascinating, very interesting. And so I think we need to get Neil out there so he can fly through this area, whether there's a runway there or not. Can a 152 or 172 make it from Sacramento Executive to Yosemite and back? I don't know. I'd like to hear Neil's perspective on that.
Yeah, it definitely could. It definitely could have 4 hour plus in the airplane. But what I assume it would. By the way, very good, Joel. I was concentrating on the top left-hand side, and now I look on the right edge, and I definitely can see the fall, the illuminated, beautiful bright red. I did not connect one thing with the other. What I was seeing as a pilot, as a potential runway, was about halfway on the picture, on just above the R and the S of Hertz. You know, if you go up about a couple of inches, you can see a very sharp white line. What appears to be that's what I interpreted the runway, two lighter colors with a dark center going to the northwest there. So that's what it appeared to me, and there must be something else. Go ahead.
I think I could see what you're talking about now, and it looks more like a runway as a smaller photo. But when I blow it up, it's harder for me to possibly think of it that way. Interesting. Any other questions, comments?
Is what you're seeing as the runway dark or white? Because I see some strips of snow. I see a bit of white snow at the bottom of a cliff face. Down in the middle bottom, there's the river meandering around. There's actually a piece of orange, I think, reflecting off the river of the orange light. But the scales are wrong. But I guess not knowing exactly what you're looking at, you don't really realize what the scale is and what you're looking at. Because there's a lot of trees, a lot of snow, and places. There's the river, and I don't really see any long straight lines that to me look like a runway. But it could be. That's what you're seeing.
Yeah, well, I don't want to stretch this because we have more pictures to see. But if you see the main snowy area in the dead center of the picture, you have two. In the very bottom, you have two, one on the left, one in the middle of the picture. And above that, you have another bright yellow, bright white, just to the left of it. It could be also an aircraft searchlight looking up through the fog. I'll highlight it, and I'll send you in a message tomorrow. Let's go on. Back to net, KL7HQ.
I got one more thing for that. So between the H and a P, draw a line going up to 11 o'clock, upper left-hand corner of the photo. If you draw a line between H and P going towards about 11 o'clock, you'll run right into the double stripe at a diagonal. All right, let me turn it over to Carol for her photograph if she has one to transmit. Carol, KP4MD, if you're available to transmit, go right ahead. N6EMF.
Okay, thank you. Let's get. Gonna bring my photograph up here. This is gonna be a PDF, a PD20, PD120. Let's see. There we go. Uh-oh, I have to restart MMSSTV again. One moment here.
All right, N6 EMF standing by. So Joel, did you see what Neil was thinking?
A bit distracted on my end. I didn't catch the description of where he said it was. Is it dark or white, and what quadrant of the photo is it in?
Starts in the lower left-hand quadrant, and then if you drew a line between Hirsch and photography, the space between those two words, and you go up to about 11 o'clock, you'll see a path through the runway figure.
You mean almost all the way to the top, where the golden, the rays of light are going across?
No. If you take a line between the H and the capital P and draw a line from that point all the way up to 11 o'clock, you'll draw an arc or draw a path right through the runway.
Okay, is it white or black?
Two white stripes with a black streak in the middle.
See, I think you're looking at just some lines of snow in Cathedral Gully or up by a cliff. See, that's where it helps me knowing what we're looking at. And you guys, since you're not familiar with Yosemite or what you're looking at, what's obvious to me as to what isn't to you because you don't know, you've not been there.
Fair enough. How about Carol? How are you doing out there, Carol? You making progress?
Yeah, ready to go. Here we go. This is KP4MD, and it's going to be a PD120.
All right, N6 EMF Net Control here. I was able to copy a photo from KP4MD. Came out nice, fairly clear for what it is. It looks like a photograph of some kind of spectrum scope. maybe an RF spectrum scope of some kind, and she's got an indication of a transmission and another one of a back wave. If I were to guess as to what this might be measurements directly from her Tuna 10 transmitter in transmit mode while keyed up, as well as maybe another mode. But that's my guess. And I can see a nice blue background with noise around the CW pulses, possibly. Anyway, that's my perspective on this photo. Nice work, Carol. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Neil, KL7HQR. You copy?
Yeah, very, very good copy. No problem at all. Due to the background, there is no discernible hits from baseball, but very sharp. If I use my imagination, assuming this to be a waterfall, reading from the bottom to the top, I could even make the Morse code for my delta. But that back wave indication kind of throws me for a loop a little bit. Curious to know what it really is. Back to Net.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Neil. AI6DG, Joel, how about you? You copy?
Excellent reception. One of the best I've received in quite a while. I'm assuming it's a waterfall, but I'm not really sure what we're looking at. Transmission and back wave, so we've got kind of a line up to, and I don't know which direction it's going, because when I think of a waterfall, it's scrolling down. So back wave would be up on top as being after the transmission, although I think I've seen some waterfalls go the opposite direction. I look at the waveform in terms of what it might be on a waterfall in AM maybe, but it's just not clear enough really to know what I'm looking at. So I look forward to the description. Back to Net AI6DG.
All right, I'm going to cheat, and Carol will either love me or hate me for this, but I'm going to cite some work she did in an email from Carol KP4MD. Carol, backwave can occur in transmitters when the oscillator runs continuously and an amplifier stage is keyed. How is that? N6EMF. How about Carol, KP4MD? Tell us about the photo.
Yes, this is KP4MD. You're absolutely right. I did post this in the DIY radio group, and it's a demonstration of backwave. You don't see so much of it nowadays because a lot of the equipment, the modern equipment we have, doesn't suffer from this problem. This actually was a capture of a waterfall from a web SGR it was back in 2019 when our original DIY radio group was working with some simple transmitter circuits. This was the Pixie 2, which is it's an interesting, I think it's like one or two transistors, and it's got an audio amplifier stage in there. And it's a crystal controlled direct conversion receiver. So the oscillator is running constantly, and when you key down, it goes into a transmit mode where it's pulling more current and it's putting out like 100 milliwatts. But then in between your key down, when your key is up, it's actually receiving, and it's a direct conversion receiver. So the oscillator on the frequency is beating against the incoming signals from your antenna, and you're hearing the tones as heterodynes in your headset that you're using this with. Now that running oscillator is still coupled to the antenna, and it's putting out a signal in the area maybe of microwatts. So this is completely not audible to people who are tuning around out there on radios at any distance. But the web SDR is sensitive enough to give that indication of that crystal oscillator in the pixie. And it's the level of microwatts, but it's not audible to the naked ear just listening to it. Uh, Similar thing with old equipment. I had one radio that was a Globe Chief vacuum tube radio back in the 70s. And when I used it with a VFO, a separate external VFO, you would turn on the VFO and it would generate the frequency that you needed to transmit, and then you would key the transmitter and was keying the amplifier stage. But when the key was up and you were not pressing down on the key, that oscillator was still going. So you would hear it in your own separate receiver. You'd hear that tone from the oscillator. And so in some radios, enough of that low level signal got through to the antenna that other people could hear it very low. I mean, generally you could only hear it like if you were really close to the station that was transmitting, and you'd be able to pick up that very weak signal. Uh, but it was kind of a problem in your own station if you didn't turn off that VFO when you were trying to receive, because that signal from the VFO could block your receiver, so you wouldn't hear any weak signals on the frequency. You would have to actually disable the VFO while you're on receive, or else it would be covered over by that signal. That's when we used to use separate transmitters and receivers. So it's an interesting. This is something that also does happen on the Tuna 10 synthesized, the Tuna 10S. It does. I did measure. It was in the level of microwatts that leaks through that MOSFET, the IRF 510, which is in the final. So I have yet to demonstrate it on a web SDR waterfall, but that's something I plan to do, to see if enough of that signal gets out, you can actually see a fine little tiny little skinny trace that's not audible to anyone. Back to net control. This is KP4MD.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that update, Carol. I just had a quick comment that was very insightful, very instructive to understand. I had my Nano VNA. My Nano VNA was hooked up one afternoon to my 10-meter dipole, and I stepped away from it for a while to do something else and left the Nano connected, and it was sweeping on across or some center frequency. And when I came back, I noticed my receiver was doing all kinds of weird stuff. It took me a few minutes to realize that Nano was actually a transmitter in that configuration, that it was radiating RF onto my antenna under test, and that was an embarrassment to myself, and I hope I wasn't interfering with anyone. I don't know how much power a Nano VNA puts out, but that's a lesson for the group too, is that if you're using something like that, be careful with putting it on an antenna for test, because you're on the air, literally. N6EMF, I'll turn it over to anyone else with comments.
Comment.
At Joel, AI6DG.
The Nano VNA also has a mode where you can do a single frequency not scan and put a carrier out. So I'm not that could be used as a piece of test gear, or maybe you want to purposely jam someone, not legally. I didn't just say that. But there's been many, and this isn't, the next statement doesn't apply just to Nano VNA, but just in general to antenna analyzers. If you've got an SDR radio with a waterfall, then you can sometimes see people or frequencies sweeping across the band or bandwidth that you're looking at, or even hear it if you're just listening. And that's probably someone nearby doing an antenna analyzer scan on their antenna. So that's something you didn't used to see, these fancy new equipment and the side effects. Back to net AI6DG.
Comment.
Go ahead, Carol.
Uh, yeah, this is KP4MD. Sometimes you'll actually see a sweep starting from a very low frequency across the HF spectrum, starting from 4 or 5 megahertz or lower, and then going way up to the 20 megahertz or so. And another thing that can cause that are ionosons, and I'm sure you've probably heard of those. These are stations that are actually doing sounding of the ionosphere to see what the height of the ionosphere and the reflectivity over.
All right. Well, thank you for that. How about Neil? Did you have anything?
No, I'm just soaking it all in. As everybody knows, I've been away from the modern technology and equipment, and I do have a nano. As a matter of fact, I have two nano VNA, and I've read a little bit, and I saw the video that Carol pointed out some time ago. But I'm going to be looking forward to getting hopefully eventually an in-person sit-down session to know how to use it correctly. I'm using it right now. Somebody said it's similar to you have a platinum with a diamond encrusted micrometer, and you're using it as a hammer. So I have a lot to learn. Back to that.
All right. This is very good. Any other discussion on this this photo with the back wave and the transmission, and just being aware of instruments and circuits we're working with that could be getting out on the air, however little power output. All right, well, that was a great round of photos this evening. Let's see, do we have any general discussion for the SSTV Net? If not, I'll prepare to close out pretty soon.
KL7HQR, there was a question, I don't know if it was from Joel the other day, about if there are any intents of going back or continuing with some kind of a digital discussion or on Saturdays. What's the consensus?
Well, yeah, I last week I made a comment that I would try to get some communication out about getting us together. One of the things that I left off with was that I'm currently developing skill in CW and Morse. I'm learning how to copy Morse and starting to send, some practice sessions here and there. So that's an area of focus for me personally. And I'm also realizing, based on some personal challenges right now, that I'm having less time to engage discussions on weekends. So I'm still interested in it, but just have not really had time to make the commitment to it. Obviously that's something we can still do. So if you want to get together, can we discuss what mode we want to discuss from here? Do you want to talk more about CW, or do you want to go for more FT8 or some other digital mode?
Well, I'm interested in CW myself, so I wouldn't mind sitting down and having some CW practices with you. I am very slow, and I would like to build up some speed. So that's something we can discuss. Maybe we don't need to discuss now during net time, but maybe we can send a couple of messages back and forth. And so I don't know if I have your phone number, but I'll send you an email, and we can do that offline, not using net time. Over.
Yeah, I think it's a digital mode, and it's a fair question. So again, I promised last week, but I'll make an effort this time to get communication out to Joel, you, me, and Carol, and possibly even JoJo if he's still listening out there. he and I right now have been working and talking a lot about CW. He's miles ahead of me, but I'm following in his footsteps right now. So anyway, I'm going to seek to close out the net in just a moment if there are no further comments. All right. Well, thank you again, Carol, for setting up for the YouTube channel. And I want to express appreciation to all the folks out there monitoring us and serving as an audience on YouTube. Appreciate Carol's hard work keeping us going in that regard. And thanks to all who participated in tonight's SSTV Net. We hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 o'clock p.m. The net is officially closed at 9:53 p.m. Pacific Time. This is Wilson, November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot, wishing all of you a good evening. 73.